Welcome to Take Me Out, the ultimate podcast about ballparks and the baseball experience. It's March 5th, 2025. I'm Alexandra Ellis, and I'm joining my friend Timothy Malcolm.
What's up, baseball fans? And welcome to Take Me Out. I am Timothy Malcolm. Alex, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, starting to catch up on all things spring training. Got to see Altuve make his first error in left field and his first play in left field.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're there. We are there. I love it.
How many errors does Jose Altuve make in 2025 in left field? Oh, okay, over under.
0. He got it out of the way. He's gonna be perfect.
I'm gonna say, well, okay. I was gonna say over under 3.5.
That's a safe number. I mean, I'm gonna even set the bar even lower and go for maybe 4.5, just in case, because start your expectations. You start really low. And that way you can only get better.
Okay.
It's a very strange way of looking at it, but
all right. I mean, he's a professional. He should be fine.
Yeah.
He's fast enough. Left field is not the hardest position in the world. I will say at Minute Maid, at Dyken Park, it is. There we go. We started doing it already. At Dyken Park, left field is probably a little trickier because you have the high ceiling there, the high fence, the Crawford box. So you got to play the wall a little bit more. So, it could be a little risky, but he's played there for how many years now? Like 12?
Yeah. I mean, his entire career and until he retires too, which, I love.
He'll be playing for the Astros in 2047, I'm sure.
I love it. I'm here for it. Or if he retires, he'll become a coach or something like that. I can see that happening after we build the statue, of course.
Yeah, of course, the statue. Yes. Where does the statue go? Where does the Jose Altuve statue go?
It's got to go right along Crawford Street, where like the little outdoor ballpark thingy is, where it's like the much more smaller bridge where all the little flags are out there. Yeah, on Crawford Street facing west. I think it's got to be out there.
Do you think when that entertainment district's going to come in, they're going to sort of move everything around and put maybe make a statue park or something like that? Or
I would think so, because I know in St. Louis at their thing across the street, they have their Cardinals, the museum, which has like all the historical things,
right?
Like old seats from Busch stadiums.
Very cool museum.
It's a fantastic museum. I got to hold a game use Stan Musial bat with gloves on, apparently, obviously, but like still, I was like, this is cool. I like this.
Yeah,
more
they
teams
do let
should
you
do
do that. That's right. They let you do that. That's like that's like the coup de grace of the whole thing.
It's so
it's a
cool.
really cool museum. Yeah, we'll talk about that at some point. But it's a nice way to spend, I want to say, 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah,
like before a Cardinals game or even after a Cardinals game. I think it's maybe like, is it free or is it like $5 or something?
It's not free.
It's not free.
It's not expensive either. I do remember it being well worth the cost of admission.
$10? It's somewhere in that range.
Something. I mean, they're not going to break your bank, but it's whatever they ask you to pay. It's like, yeah, do it because it's absolutely worth it.
The Cardinals job. Like, I would pay that money for the Cardinals History Museum. I don't know if I'd pay that money for the Rays History Museum or the Diamondbacks History Museum or the Marlins History Museum. But, for the Cardinals, for the Yankees, for a couple other teams, yeah, sure. I will go and see the things and touch the bat and all that. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, welcome again to Take Me Out. This is the ultimate podcast about ballparks and the baseball experience. This is our 5th episode. We've already gone through a lot of things here on this podcast. If you're new to the podcast, which you might be, we have already covered spring training baseball in Arizona and Florida, what to do in both the Grapefruit League Florida area and the Cactus League Arizona area. We've covered what kind of trips you can take in 2025 in the regular season. We outlined some really cool ideas for you, whether it's Southern California or the Great Lakes, or maybe doing a sort of weird Midwestern trip that I might take this year. I think what I might do, and I'll just briefly say this before we get into everything else, is I'm probably going to do a Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Washington trip. It might be Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Washington, but I think it's Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Washington this year. Kind of do like a weird, like parabola shape kind of a thing. Yeah. So right now August is kind of where I'm leaning. I know I thought I had the trip done, but I realized I should do this trip on a midweek because I actually have more flexibility on the midweek. So if I do a midweek trip in August, that's going to work out really well for me. So I'm really excited. That might be my big trip this year.
Good. I haven't really started doing my planning yet, which I should start doing. But I'm still really thinking it out. We have a lot of things happening right now in the country that I'm trying to like avoid talking about. But just think about the real world, looking at like financial stuff. So I'm doing good, but we'll figure it out. I'm going to figure it out.
I hear it. That's the thing is,
we'll learn this right now.
But that's a good point, because we want to help
Yeah.
people out when, maybe the money's a little tighter. Maybe you're thinking about inflation or some other things, and you're like, well, I don't know if I can go to all these ball games this year. I don't know if I can go to the places I want to. We're going to help you out if you want. You can get in touch with us. My email address is tsmalcolm@gmail.com. You can also comment on our YouTube, comment on our Facebook, and let us know, hey, I'm thinking about this trip this year, but I don't know if it's feasible. I don't know if I can do it. What do you think? What about saving money for flights, saving money for rental cars, all that kind of stuff? Like, what are some of the things that you do to save money in these trips? We will help you out. I will help you out in this way. So if you do have questions about, like, I don't know if I can make this work, this is what we're here for. This is what this podcast is here for. This podcast is here to help you scratch out all the ballparks, go to all the ballparks, and make your trips happen and make your dreams come true. So get in touch with us and let us know what you think, and we can help you out with that. And that's what this podcast is for. Like I said, we are here to help you with your baseball trips and your ballpark trips, but also talk about ballparks and how great they are and the new things happening at ballparks. So we'll get to the news in a second. But first, Alex, why don't you tell the fans here, the people who are new or whoever is listening, how to make our podcast better through social media. There's ways to do it, right? There's like ways we can like drop ratings and things like that. So why don't you tell the fans?
To get tons of way to support us. I mean, the first thing we do, not first, we just whatever order you want to do, but yeah, rate us on Spotify, rate us on Apple, 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. Once you're done on all those apps, you can go to Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/takemeoutpod. You can find us on Instagram, nice burgeoning little Instagram, the profile I'm trying to run right now. It's Instagram.com/@takemeoutpod. And on YouTube, hello YouTube, youtube.com/takemeoutpod. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all the fun things, all the clicking, and even word of mouth too. Like, you're just hanging out at a bar, having a beer and talking about baseball. It's like, hey, have you heard of this podcast called Take Me Out Pod? It's Take Me Out. It's about baseball and ballparks. It's really cool. If you want to go check out ballparks, tell all your friends. Like, tell the person at the grocery store. It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually what I do a lot. I mean, for those of you who don't know, because I said this in the first episode of the podcast, like why we're doing this podcast and who I am, because who the hell am I? I've written a book. You may have seen it if you are a ballpark person. You've gone to trips and things like that. It's called Baseball Road Trips. See, there it is. This is the second edition. It came out in September of 2024 through Moon Travel, Hachette Book Group. Wonderful book. It's the ultimate guide to all the ballparks and what to do in all the ballparks and around the ballparks. And I will tell you, I have gotten a lot of feedback from people who have bought the book, who have been gifted the book, and they love it. They think it is, quote, a Bible, which is incredible. I'm very, very flattered and very honored that people would think of this book as a really important book for their travels, and they take it with them on their travels. It means a lot to me. And I thought, why not give back a little bit more to people and just say, hey, I want to do a podcast where every week I could talk more about these things and talk about the news in ballparks and what these things might mean, but also help people on their journeys on a regular basis, not just have a book that comes out every 3 years. So if you're into this book, if you like this book, if you've seen this book, if you want to buy this book, whatever, this podcast is me. I'm the guy in the book. So please, listen to the podcast, tell your friends. And so, what I was going to say is when I'm at the bar and I tell people about baseball or whatever, we're talking about baseball and they talk about ballpark trips and stuff like that, that's my cue. It's like, oh, I wrote a book. And then it's like, oh my God, holy crap, and we talk and it's great. And so this
give
is
out autographs. It's incredible.
Well, it happened once. It's crazy.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I'll tell that story later on. But no, I mean, look, people want to talk about ballparks. People want to talk about the trips that they're going on. So that's why this podcast is so cool. I want this podcast to be a place where people can really talk about what they're doing and where they're going and celebrating those things. So if you're at a bar, if you're out at a party, if you're talking to people about baseball and trips and stuff like that, talk about this podcast. Say there's this podcast called Take Me Out, and it's a cool podcast. You can find it on Apple. You can find it on Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts. So please look us up there and on social media, as Alex said, and say hi, because we would really appreciate that.
Hey, Tim, want to get into some news?
Yeah, I think I've talked too much. Let's get into the news.
Okay. All right, we are starting in California. The Dodgers spend $100 million on renovations to Dodger Stadium. According to multiple reports, the Dodgers ownership group Guggenheim Baseball Management spent around $100 million on renovations this offseason. The Dodgers reportedly made upgrades to the clubhouses, batting cages, and other team facilities.
So yeah, this is a true blue 100% ownership effort to say Dodger Stadium is our home for a very, very long time. You're not just going to plunk $100 million down on your ballpark without making a long-term commitment. And Dodger Stadium is going to be their place for a long time. That's kind of the reason why I wanted to highlight this. There's a lot of cities, a lot of teams, a lot of ballparks, and they change hands every couple generations. We've seen that in Atlanta. We might be seeing that very soon in Kansas City, although Kansas City's been around for quite a while, Kauffman Stadium. We've seen that, potentially with Tampa here, Tropicana Field might be going away at some point. Obviously, the whole athletic situation is its own weird thing. But the Dodgers have been at Dodger Stadium since the early 1960s, and they're not leaving Dodger Stadium anytime soon. And that is terrific news. The changes they made here, like you said, clubhouses, there's new weight rooms, batting cages, more facilities for the players. So this is all a lot of internal, behind-the-scenes player stuff that they did this year. But they've made a lot of changes to Dodger Stadium over the past several years. In fact, since 2012, when they took over ownership of the team, they've plunked like $2.15 billion into the stadium. And so if you haven't been in a while and this is your first time in Dodger Stadium in a long time, walk around that place. It's a very different ballpark. I mean, it's more open. It's more fan friendly. That whole outfield area, the center field plaza with the statues, the Jackie Robinson statue, but also that outfield area with all the food trucks and the standing areas and the sitting areas and all the big screens. You can watch the game while having, nachos or having a hot dog or whatever it is. Like, that's all relatively new, and that's a really cool place. They've also added more food and drink options. They have the new Top of the Park store. They've done a really good job with the Top Deck, which is one of my favorite places in all of baseball to watch a game. Have you been? I forget if I asked you if you've been to Dodger Stadium yet.
I have, but that was before I realized that what I wanted to do was go to all the ballparks. I went about 20 years ago.
Okay.
I don't remember much about it. I do remember when we got up to our seats, we had the nosebleed seats, and I remember being absolutely terrified because the pitch, it was like this, and it's just like, watch your step. I just remember being like, I don't want to be up here. I'm like, I'm not scared of heights in the way where if I would hit the ground, I would feel it,
Yeah.
So, that's a good height to be scared of right up there. So, but yeah, that's all I remember, which is kind of a good sign that I should probably head back soon.
Yeah, my first time ever at Dodger Stadium was it was the last park that I had to get to in my 30 ballpark chase. So it was the last one. And I walked around the park, did all kinds of things. And I finally by the 7th inning stretch, like 7th and 8th inning, around that time, I went to my seat, the actual seat that I purchased, which was up in the upper deck. I usually get, for those who don't know, I buy a pretty cheap ticket typically in a ballpark because I'm going to walk around a lot and go to different spots and talk to people. So I want to buy like a $5 ticket if I can. So I got one of the cheapest seats in the park all the way up top. And as you said, it's seriously steep at Dodger Stadium. It was also a Saturday afternoon game, and it was pretty full in the upper deck. There were people. I mean, I was in a section where there was like people. It was like a sold out section. There was a family next to me. I was, they're a little more cramped than other stadiums because it's an older stadium. So I felt a little more cramped in my seat with the family around me and all that kind of stuff. It was fine. And that was when the 7th inning stretch happened, and they did take me out to the ball game, and I was kind of singing along a little bit in my head, and they got to like, I'll never come back, and like I started crying a little bit because it was the last ballpark.
No!
It was my last ballpark, so I was like, oh my god, thank God the ball game. So that was a wonderful moment.
That's
a great moment.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say is, so you didn't get there when the top deck is a newer thing, and the top deck they put in place where it's this walkway area above the top seating bowl.
Yeah.
And so it's the last thing possible when you get all the way up the ramps and stuff. And that place, that top deck, just kind of hangs over a little bit in foul territory, and you can stand pretty close to home plate if you can get there, because it usually gets pretty packed. Just stand at the top deck and watch the game from there, and it is a wonderful view. You're up pretty high, but you get to watch the whole game. You see the whole field. And the mountains, the San Gabriel Mountains are behind you. And if it is like a night game and you're there early, you get sunset coming down from the San Gabriel. Like, it is a wonderful place to watch. One of my favorite places in all baseball to watch baseball. So there you go. But yes, good that Dodger Stadium, it seems like it's going to hang around for a long time. Some people do clown on Dodger because it's an older ballpark that still needs some work. And it does. I mean, every ballpark kind of does. But good to see the Dodgers, who are flush with cash. We know that. They are putting the work in. Yeah, much to your dismay.
That was
Hey,
dramatic.
look,
I'm sorry.
you're an
Fine.
You're an American League fan. You don't have to worry about the Dodgers until maybe the end of the year. I have to worry about the Dodgers a little more often. So
Knock on wood.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good that they are putting the work in to make Dodger Stadium an even better park, year after year. So good on the
Yeah.
Dodgers.
Cool. Good on them. Good on them. All right, moving up the coast. Athletics are allowing fans to secure access to season tickets for Las Vegas. The Athletics announced this week that starting March 7th, you can go to theathletics.com/Vegas and purchase priority access for Las Vegas season tickets for $19.01. Priority will go to season ticket holders of the Las Vegas Aviators, the A's current AAA team in Vegas, along with residents of Clark County, Nevada.
I don't think we mentioned this up top, but we are going to talk about the new A's ballpark,
Yeah.
Sutter Health Park. Yes, that's today's episode of Sutter Health Park. And we're going to do a whole guide to the ballpark and what we know so far, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't know right now. They haven't really released a lot of information. I've tried to get some info from the A's, but hasn't really been a great thing there with the A's. They haven't gotten back to me on that. It's okay, but I do have quite a bit of information that we can share here. But they're kind of leaping over Sutter Health Park here with this news that you can get on board with. I mean, the new ballpark that the A's are going to play in Vegas, that's going to open, it seems like 2028. So we're getting Sutter Health in Sacramento for the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. Vegas opens in 2028. And this is going to be a 33,000 seat ballpark. It's going to be, I think it's probably going to be retractable. I think that's what they've said it's going to be.
That makes sense. It would make sense.
And so great. People are very excited and jazzed up about this ballpark. I think groundbreaking is going to happen this summer. But the A's are already saying, people who live in Clark County, Nevada, which is where Las Vegas is, and people who are already season ticket holders of the AAA club, the Aviators, can get the priority season tickets early. Now, doesn't mean if you're not a Aviators season ticket holder or a Vegas, county resident, then you can't get this either. It's just the people who live in that area and follow the Aviators get the first dibs, and then we'll see what happens from there. But it's $19.01 to then get the dibs to get season tickets. So, and I mean, this is my favorite part of the whole thing, is that it's $19.01, which is a callback to when the A's started, 1901. So the A's were founded in 1901. I like that. Well, they were founded in Philadelphia, and they lived there. They were the Philadelphia A's were there for 50 plus years, and then they moved to Kansas City, and they were taken out of Philadelphia, went to Kansas City, and then they were in Kansas City for, several years there, a couple of years, and then finally Charlie Finley moved them to Oakland, and they became the Oakland Athletics, and, they were there for, 50 plus years. They're so far away from that Philadelphia, like Connie Mack and Shibe Park and Eddie Collins and those Ace teams of the 1920s and 30s that were right there with the Yankees as one of the best teams in baseball and all that. Like, this could not be farther from them, is this Vegas permutation of the Athletics. So to me, it's like, it's okay, nice little nod to the past, but like, you're not that team anymore. Just make the season tickets $20.28, because that's when you're going to start playing in Vegas. There
you go. Also, that's the inflation. It's great.
That's right. Well, we're lucky if inflation only goes $1.17 or 27 cents.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you are like interested in becoming a season ticket holder of the Las Vegas Athletics, maybe there'll be a different team name in 2028. Who knows?
Do you think that'll happen?
I don't think it's out of the question.
Okay.
I think it's likely they'll stay the Athletics, because it is a pretty generic name, and that name's been around for, over 120 years. But it's not out of the question. I don't think it's I don't think anything with the A's is out of the question anymore.
Yeah, so I don't know what I would think about that, because it's, again, like you said, it's so far removed from what it used to be. It's at this point, I mean, I'm of two different versions where you'd be like, yeah, screw it, we're so far away, might as well, we are a different team now. We are pretty much a different organization now. We're not even in the same city anymore, even the same state, all the stuff from Philadelphia. And then this other time, it's like you want to give the fans just like one last thing to hold on to of what they were, and it's, oh my God, like, I don't know which one I would choose.
Honestly, if I'm ownership guy, I've already like burned so many bridges. I would just start over with like a new
clean slate,
like give it a new name, give it new colors, new everything. Like, I would rather them stay in Oakland and be the Athletics forever and that kind of thing. And
Sure, we're not alone in thinking that. Yeah.
yeah, but like if you're gonna do all of this, then just give them a new name, give them a new everything, and don't recall 1901. Like just start fresh. It's basically a new ball club. But nevertheless, if you are interested in going to see the Las Vegas A's in 28 and beyond and getting season tickets, maybe you're thinking of moving to Las Vegas at some point in the next couple of years, and you know what? This isn't a bad idea to get on the bandwagon now and early before it gets really bad, because I'd imagine Vegas will be a hot ticket for the first couple of years of that team's existence. So think about it if you are, someone who wants to maybe go into that. 9 a.m. Pacific time on March 7th. So only a couple days from now, if you're listening before March 7th, 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 12 p.m. Eastern time. So there you go. That's your spectrum.
All right. Now we're going over to Washington, D.C. Nationals hopeful to announce a naming rights deal for Nationals Park. Brett Knight of Forbes report that the Washington Nationals have hired a New York marketing and talent agency to help them sell naming rights to Nationals Park. The Nationals hope to get a deal done by mid-season.
So the Nationals, we've talked about them already a couple episodes ago about them trying to introduce some more food and drink and entertainment options around Nationals Park, not necessarily in entertainment district, but something that can kind of blend in with what their current architecture is around the park. Nationals Park is surrounded by a lot of office space and already existing buildings and parking garages and things like that. So it's hard to just demolish what is around them and build new. They are essentially going to add storefronts to some of that parking garage area around the park to create more entertainment options. And now they're looking to bring naming rights. And what they're looking for, seemingly a 20-year naming rights deal. And they're hoping to batch that with a patch that is sponsored by the same company that has the stadium rights as well. So that would be together a joint deal. And the Nationals are hoping to make $20 million a year from that deal. That's a lot of money. That's good coin. A lot of teams do have the patches. I want to say like 21 or so teams have the patches on the jersey, 23. And I want to say another 20 some have naming rights deals. Most teams do have a naming rights deal. So the Nationals getting into that. I mean, look, the Nationals are not the Yankees. They're not the Red Sox. They're not the Cubs. They don't have the existing history with the ballpark or just the history itself. Like, why not have a naming rights deal? The Nationals are a relatively young franchise. Yes, they were the Expos, but what the Athletics should probably be doing is what the Nationals did. They moved to DC. They left Montreal. Sadly, I wish there was baseball still in Montreal, but they moved to DC and decided we're going to start anew with a new name and a new color scheme and all that stuff and whatever. Naming rights deal makes sense. It's a young ball club. Why not just sell out to some sort of corporate sponsor and make money? And then maybe you can demolish one of those parking garages or something around you and build that entertainment district or whatever you got to do to enhance the Nationals experience in the Navy Yard there. Sounds
They're
good to me.
They're the youngest team, right? I mean, well, not even though they moved from Montreal, but they are the newest team, I guess you could say, right?
As far as their franchise name, I mean, technically, yes. They, I think, what are they? Was it 2002, 2003? It's off the top of my head right now when they moved from Montreal, but it's sometime around then. That is the youngest. Before that, it was the Rays and the Diamondbacks, and before that, it was the Marlins and the Rockies. I think the Rays and Diamondbacks were 98, something like that, and then the Rockies and the Marlins are 93. The A's will be, I guess, new in some way. I guess this year, though, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know how we label that.
It's just going to be a weird season. I'm sorry. Just not a weird season, but I can imagine it being weird for A's fans.
Is there a sponsor you want to see take on the naming rights for Nationals Park? Is there a DC or sort of a brand of some sort that makes sense for the Nationals that you think would be, I could see that the ballpark being named this?
Wow, that's a good question.
Putting you on the spot. Totally.
Really, yeah. And here's the thing: my mom actually used to live in the DC area, and she actually used to live. My mom actually she rented a condo at the Watergate once, and she was mistaken. She was mistaken for Monica Lewinsky because it was around that time. My mom had dark curly hair, so
okay, all right.
Wow, that was a pivot. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm so unfamiliar with DC. It's been so long since I've been back. Yeah, you got me, man. I don't know. What would you think?
I like a White Castle
What
because
castle?
I don't know, because you have the White House not too far away, so like a White Castle.
There's a joke in there. Yes, there is. All right. I'm trying to think of a. I
Oh,
can't
there
think
is
of
a joke in there. I wasn't even thinking about that. There
Definitely
is
a joke in there. You did good job.
There is a joke in there. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm trying to think of like even like any like, Northern Virginia companies too, like something because that's kind of part of it, you know.
Gannett.
I don't
Gannett,
know.
the newspaper company, Gannett. They're out of McLean, Virginia. I know this because I'm
Okay.
in journalism.
Oh
So
yeah.
Gannett Park, but I don't know how
So you
that
they
would
can
work for
afford that
people.
because yeah.
I mean, well, don't bag on the newspaper industry.
Sorry, trying to save all the newspapers.
Nevertheless, no, it's good to see that again. As we said a couple weeks ago, the Nationals are investing in this ballpark and trying to stay there for quite a lot longer, 20 years at least. It seems like 30 years. In fact, I think we talked about in the last episode. So yeah, good to see the Nationals are making that long-term investment, just like the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
And that's the news for this week on Take Me Out. We will be back in just a few moments. We're going to get deeper and deeper into the new home of the Athletics, Sacramento's Sutter Health Park. Stay with us. Welcome back to Take Me Out. Tim here, Alex over there.
Hello.
Hello. And we're going to now get into something I didn't think we would do in the first season, like right away, but here we are talking about a new ballpark in Major League Baseball. This is, I mean, it's been a while since we've had a new ballpark in Major League Baseball. I think the last one was Truist. Is that right? In Atlanta?
Was that right? Yeah, it has to be.
I think Truist is the last ballpark that is opened in Major League Baseball. So here we are at a new one.
We're gonna have two this season actually with Steinbrenner Field, but we're talking about the A's. Sorry.
Technically, we're gonna have two, and we will get to Steinbrenner Field in a couple of weeks. But this week we are going to dive into Sutter Health Park in Sacramento. Now, I want to say flat out from the start, there's your A's hat. Looks great.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see me holding up my A's hat.
Yeah, it's there. It's
Follow
beautiful.
us on YouTube,
it's
like, comment,
green,
subscribe.
It's yellow. Follow us, like, and subscribe, please.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. So there's not a lot of information yet. So usually ballparks, when you were trying to get information about them, there's plenty of information online about them. But people who go to minor league parks regularly, there's a couple of people who are like very into talking about like what the parks have, but that's not as readily available, that information on the internet. It's not as thorough as people who go to major league parks and write about them. Also, the major league teams do a really good job of explaining their ballparks, whereas minor league teams don't give you as much information, but also minor league parks are not as huge and thorough and deep with different things to do and see and eat and all that stuff as you know, the minor leagues are a little bit different. They're a little smaller. So Sutter Health is smaller. Sutter Health is going to be more of a minor league park. It just is. It's going to be that way for the next 3 years. But we are going to get into this as much as we can. The A's have not been as forward with information yet. I mean, they don't have a lot of information publicly on their website. I've gotten in touch with the A's to see if I can get more info. I'm waiting to get more info from them. Hopefully they will come through with that pretty soon and we can update. But I'm going to give you as much as I can as far as what is out there now from what Sutter Health was doing as a minor league park last year as the Sacramento River Cats ballpark. They're still going to play there this year, but they're just going to not be there when the A's are there, right? They're going to go off and you know, the off days and all that stuff. So I will give you as much info as I can from Sacramento River Cats stuff in the past. It may not also work this year. We're disclaimer city here. Like what I say about last year's park may not be true for this year's park, but I will give you as much info as I can to kind of prep you so that you know what this park is going to essentially be like when you get there, if you're going there for the first time this year. And there's also some other information that is out there and that we can be kind of more solid with. So we'll talk about that too. So first off, Alex, from a fan perspective, as someone who would be going to the park for the first time, when you're touching down in Sacramento and you're coming upon that neighborhood where the ballpark is, what's the first thing that you want to know as a fan coming to a ballpark like Sutter Health if it's your first time there?
I mean, I kind of what I want to know. I mean, I kind of like what the areas around them. I want to know what the best, like the must-sees attractions you've got there, the best place to get food. If there's like a certain stand that has like this one version of this hot dog that you have to try. Yeah, those kinds of things. I've also, when I get to the ballpark, I for any new ballpark, I like once you get in the building, I do the thing that you do, everyone seems to do at the airports. I do a drive-by. I'm like, where's my section? Where's my seat? I'm like, I have to go and make sure my seat's there. I don't know why everyone does this at the airport. This is what I do at the ballparks. And then once I get my lay of the land of where I'm going to be sitting for the next hour or so, then when I'm going to start walking around the ballpark. And I'd like to find a place I can get a good view. It's good, all-encompassing view. And then just start walking around and just seeing if something kind of piques my interest. If it's like a newer park that doesn't have that many attractions or a smaller park. But I just like it the lay of the land, and it's kind of get comfortable where I am.
Okay, so we'll start with that then. The lay of the land of Sutter Health Park in Sacramento. So the first thing is Sutter Health Park is in West Sacramento, not actually downtown Sacramento. So downtown Sacramento, and then the Sacramento River is on the western end of the downtown area. Right across the river is West Sacramento, but right across the river is where the ballpark is. So this is almost basically a river ballpark. It's kind of like PNC and like Great American Park in that sense, where it's like right up against a river, quite as up against as those parks, but it's pretty close. It's in West Sacramento. So what you're going to see when you come upon it is a little bit more of a parking lot, like highways, a little bit more, not industrial, but sparse, I guess, is the area around the park. There's a residential area that is a little bit south of the park. It's called the District, and that is residential. There's free parking allowed in the District during most days. I think West Sacramento allows free parking there. I don't know what that's going to look like during ball games. I would imagine that West Sacramento is going to be a little bit more strict about that, and maybe you won't be able to park for free in that area. They are telling you, though, the A's are, that you could park either in the lots around the ballpark there, just south of the ballpark are parking lots for the ballpark, or across the river in Sacramento downtown, there are several parking garages that are no more than 20 minutes away by foot. You can park in the parking garage and then walk down, across the bridge to the ballpark. So that's not a bad option. It's like PNC Park in that way, where you can park downtown in the city and then just walk. 15, 20 minutes is not a bad walk. I will do that any day of the week. And we'll get to Sacramento in a second, and we'll do more of a Sacramento guide next week, by the way. That walk from Sacramento to West Sacramento, there are bars, there are restaurants. That's kind of where a lot of your sort of fun stuff is. I will tell you, and we'll get into this week, that area is Old Sacramento. It is more of a touristy area. The bars and restaurants are not necessarily the best ones in the area, and they're a little bit more tourist friendly. They're a little bit more sort of watered down, I guess, quote unquote. If you're looking for the more towny, authentic, craft sort of thing, you might want to look other places. But Old Sacramento is also a place that you might want to check it off on your bucket list. And I want to go down to Old Sacramento, go to a bar or restaurant there, hang out for a bit. I would imagine there'll be a lot of fans in that area before games. That might be your best bet as far as like the game experience close to the park. So park in Sacramento in a parking garage, walk to Old Sacramento, come down, and then walk across the Tower Bridge. The Tower Bridge is the bridge that is just north of Sutter Health Park. That is the closest one to the ballpark. It is a really cool yellow bridge that looks a lot like the London Bridge in London. So it has that sort of tower shape, right? It's like it's a yellow towered bridge. So it's a really cool bridge, and it's also a great backdrop at the ballpark. Like PNC Park, that has the Clemente Bridge right beyond it there, and the other bridges in Pittsburgh. Sutter Health Park has the Tower Bridge right beyond the outfield there. So when we
I'm looking at pictures. That's actually really cool. I like that.
When we get to the ballpark itself and inside, I'll tell you where you should sit and that kind of thing. But the Tower Bridge is a really cool thing to do. So park downtown, walk over the Tower Bridge, which is very close to the ballpark. Do that, take your pictures, and then come down to West Sacramento, and you can go to the ballpark. And it's, again, a 20-minute walk at most from any of the farther parking garages. It could be more of a 10 to 15-minute walk, depending on where you park in downtown Sacramento. So that's the first thing. When you're around the ballpark itself, again, it's parking lots. It's parking lots south of the ballpark, highways that kind of go around it, and then there's residential very south of the ballpark. There isn't a lot of commercial. There isn't a lot of retail. There isn't a lot of food and drink. You're not going to be spending much time and money and all that stuff in that area if you're going to have a drink or two before the game. That said, just like Coliseum back in Oakland, they allow tailgating at Sutter Health Park. Now, this is what the River Cats did last year. I don't know if the A's will allow it this year. I would imagine they will. I think they will, but you can't hold me to that.
They gotta give them some kind of concession.
I mean, if you're not having a lot of commercial and that kind of thing around the ballpark, you probably should have tailgating.
Yeah.
So in years past, they have allowed tailgating in the parking lot south of Sutter Health Park. And they tell you no open containers, no alcohol allowed when you're tailgating at the ballpark. They tell you that. They tell you that at every city that has tailgating. I'm just telling you that they tell you that. That's it. So they have tailgating there. So that could be an option for you, that you go to Sutter Health Park, you're parking maybe somewhere around the park. Maybe you park downtown, but you walk right over to the ballpark right immediately and you hook up with some friends and tailgate. Or maybe you park in the parking lot and you tailgate there. That's an option. Or you could park downtown, walk to Old Sacramento. Maybe there's some other places in downtown that you want to walk to, and we'll get into that next week. And then you walk to the ballpark from there and do your thing. So those are some options for before the game, and that's how you can orient yourself with the ballpark. What else?
Yeah, so once you get there, so that's like walking up to the ballpark. I'd like to know, once you get into the ballpark, like what's like the first place you would go to? Like I said, like I like to do the drive-by, like where I say my seats were. Oh yeah, how many team stores do they have there? Do you know? Or is it just like the one since it's a AAA?
Yeah, so
park?
the team store thing we'll get to in a second. Let me I guess, like, before we get into the ballpark, and this is actually a good way to get into the ballpark, we'll talk about what the ballpark is and just fast facts real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It opened in 2000, May of 2000, as Raley Field. That was the same year as Daikin Park opened, Oracle Park opened, Comerica Park opened. So it was a big year for ballparks, and a lot of those retro modern ballparks were opening at that time. This was really in that period where between the retro classic style and the retro modern style, that was happening. So the retro classic, for those who don't know the ballpark terms, retro classic ballparks are like Camden Yards, Oriole Park, like very much nodding to the past, with the warehouse, with the, the dark green colors, with the gates, with that sort of polo groundish kind of feel, like very old school ballpark, right? That's what is called a retro classic. The retro modern ballparks take elements of those ballparks, but add more of a contemporary feel. A little bit more steel, maybe some concrete, maybe some more just like angular things, and some more modern amenities are into that ballpark. So some of the retro modern ballparks, Petco Park is one of them, because Petco kind of nods to the past with the Western Supply, the metal supply building in left field. But it also has kind of a weird labyrinthy kind of maze feel in the concourses. And it's very angular in different ways. And it's kind of part of the neighborhood in a more contemporary way. So 2000 is when you're kind of seeing a lot of parks that are combining retro modern and retro classic. More retro classic are starting to open. So this ballpark is kind of considered a retro modern park, where you do have that old school feel. It's a little bit more laid down, and it's got the one level, and it's looking out to the water. So it has that feel of like, it's sort of pastoral, it's sort of throwback, but it also has modern amenities. It has suites upstairs. It has a little bit more of a steel and metal kind of feel. So it's both of those things. It was a $46.5 million park when it opened. HNTB was the construction firm behind it. They also built Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, where the 49ers play football, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, where the Raiders play football. So big stadiums. This company has done a good job at building really big, really experience level, Super Bowl level like stadiums. So it's a good ballpark. It has good bones. It seats 10,624 fixed seats, and then with the lawn, there's a lawn here, it seats 14,014. So 14,000 people in this ballpark. That's what we've heard is what it's going to be seating. Maybe they'll add a couple more seats, maybe they'll add a little bit more to it, so it could be more like 15, but that's what we've heard. We haven't heard anything about boosting that up into the 20s. It seems like it's going to stay in that 14, 15 range. So when you get into the ballpark, the layout of the ballpark, we have a pretty typical ballpark layout: 330 to left, 403 to center, 325 to right. It's playing a little bit more shallow. The Pacific Coast League, where it's a part of AAA Pacific Coast League, I believe is more of a hitter-friendly league, I want to say.
Okay.
Mostly because of the climate, mostly because of the elevation, things like that. So it might be a little bit more of a hitter park, and those fences like 330 to left, 325 to right. I can see some left-handed hitters having some fun hitting the ball out there and maybe hitting it out in the lawn there. It gets really hot in summertime. That's also going to probably help with the offense. It gets too close to 100 degrees in the middle of summer at this park.
Oof.
So something to keep in mind when you're going in the summertime, it's going to be pretty hot. Okay.
Drink your water, friends. Drink your water.
Drink your
yes,
water.
Beer has water in it, but water has more water.
Well, yeah, you should have a lot of like balance out the beer with water. For every beer that you have at least 1.5 like waters, basically.
Exactly.
Is what I say.
Perfect.
So when you get to the park, so this is a minor league park, right? It's a minor league park. Mm-hmm. So every minor league park almost entirely has one level. It's a 100 level, and there is a little bit of a 200 level, but it's mostly this 100 level with a 100 level concourse. So when you get there, you're going to have, a pretty simple ballpark to kind of navigate. There's one seating bowl that is on that 100 level, and it extends from foul pole to foul pole, left field to right field foul pole. The only seating in the outfield at Sutter Health is a lawn in right center field called Home Run Hill, and that seats about, 3,000 to 4,000, depending on, whatever. And that is typical of a lot of minor league parks. It's typical of a lot of spring training parks, that lawn out there in the outfield where you can bring a chair, bring a blanket. We'll get to that in a second. Mm-hmm. But basically, when you're going to sit down at the park, you got the one level. They have done a thing with the Athletics this year where, like every other team that plays baseball, you have dynamic pricing. What that means is, depending on where you sit, depending on the day of the game, depending on the opponent that you're playing, the tickets are going to be a different price. So, For example, if you want to sit in the left field corner, so the very left field corner of that first level is called corner box. It's 124, 125, those sections. It is the cheapest seats you can get in the 100 level. They're right on the foul pole there in left field. Mm-hmm. Those are relatively cheap. But if you want to sit by the dugout on the third base side, right, you have the third base dugout box. That's between sections 119.
Now, third base that's where the A's dugout is.
I'd say maybe. I don't know where the A's are going to be their dugout. Do you know that for sure?
I don't.
Okay. So
some question though.
Some teams have the home dugout on the first base side. Some teams have them on the third base side. I'm not sure what the A's are doing for this one, but if you're going to sit on the third base side and be on the dugout side there, that's going to be more money than sitting in the corner, right? But you also might have to pay more if you're going to sit more closer to the field, right? So each of those sections, as you get closer to home plate, is divided into 3. So there's the cheaper seats that are going to be in the first third of the section, the top third. There's slightly more expensive seats in the middle third of the section. And then the most expensive seats are going to be down on the bottom of that section close to the field. So the closer that you get to the field, both wherever the section is on the ring and however close you are top to bottom, that's going to make your ticket price higher, basically. And then depending on who they play, the ticket's going to be higher, right? So I did this exercise real quick. April 2020, A's are hosting the White Sox. Now, the reason these tickets are higher, it's the White Sox. So you would think, this is not going to be a high-priced ticket. Yeah. It's a Friday night, which is usually more expensive than a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So weekend games are typically more expensive. Friday and Saturdays are even more expensive, right? The White Sox may not be a high-priced team that they would play. Like usually the Yankees, because the fans that, that come into town when the Yankees are in town, usually are going to spend money to watch the Yankees play. They're going to travel. They're going to see them play. Same thing with the Red Sox. Usually the teams that make the prices higher are the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Giants in some cases, the Phillies in some cases. And then it usually kind of bottoms out from there. Sometimes the Astros, sometimes the Cardinals, depends on the team. If they're good, typically yes. If they are going to travel, if they're crazy fan bases, typically yes. The White Sox don't have that, right? Obviously, they're not good. But it's April of 2025 in Sacramento. The tickets are high priced because people want to go see this ballpark. They're trying to get there as early as possible. So what I found was if you're going to sit in the 100 level at Sutter Health, if you're going to sit in that corner box, the average ticket is about $80. So left field
Oh,
corner,
whoa. Okay.
$80. Yeah, which at a lot of parks, $80 is more like 100 level, a little closer to the dugout. Not a lot closer. Not probably more in the outfield, but a little closer to the dugouts, right? But $80 in the corner. If you're going to sit on the third base dugout side or the first base dugout side, the average price is about $120 for a ticket. That's relatively expensive.
That's, yeah.
If you're going to sit
for
behind,
AAA.
and if you're going to sit behind home plate, the average price is about $150. Now, if you're sitting behind home plate, if you're sitting far away at the top of the section, it's going to be more like 140, 150. If you're sitting in the middle of the section, it's going to be 150, 160. If you're going to sit down low toward the home plate area, like right near the field, 170, 180, $190, right? So it gets more expensive the lower you get. Now, for the Rays, in August of 2025 on a Tuesday night, just a random August Tuesday night game against the Rays, tickets are by and large about 15 to 30% cheaper at Sutter Health.
Okay. That would make sense. It's a Tuesday night.
But if you're going July 5th, a Saturday against the Giants, which we talked about in our last episode, the Giants are in town. It's people who don't have to travel too far. They want to see the A's. Maybe some of them are A's fans. Maybe some of them are Giants fans who want to be there for the rivalry. It's not too far away. Ticket prices are 30 to 50 cents more expensive. So, again, depending on the team that they're playing, depending on when they're playing, what kind of game. Is it a Saturday? Is it a Friday? Is it a special like fireworks game, July 4th area, whatever? It's going to be more expensive. But if you're going to go in the middle of August when they're playing the Rays and you know that Rays fans don't really travel and it's a Tuesday night, chances are it's going to be a pretty cheap ticket. So keep that in mind when you're buying tickets to see teams. But that's kind of what you're looking at with Sutter Health. Because there's only one level, essentially, chances are tickets will be more expensive typically because you don't have that second level where you're going to get more, just there's more seats available. So the demand will be less for ballpark, right? So without the 200 level, it does get more expensive. So that's part of the reason. Now, there is a 200 level area at the ballpark, but it is clubs and suites. So 201 to 206, those sections, which are in shallow right field, it's called the Solon Club, Solon. Hopefully I pronounced that right. That is a club that has, for this year, when the A's are now here, a 45-foot full bar and a 140-foot long shaded club. It is a high-priced club. You can buy a ticket to it. It is for the public's consumption for that White Sox game in April. If you want to go see them, where those prices are a little bit more expensive than typical, a Solon Club ticket or a Salon Club ticket is between $225 and $260. So there you go.
Pretty steep.
It said full bar, so maybe you can get, maybe it's a drink ticket kind of thing where you can get 2 to 3 drinks or something like that for free, and that does help certainly.
For
but
sure.
That is a more steep ticket. If you're going when the Giants are in town, I would imagine it's going to be more like $300 for that club ticket. So keep that in mind. There are other luxury suite areas that they have just put in place for this year for the A's, and I believe it's in the same general area. You have the Legacy Club that has a 15-foot big screen TV, a lounge, premium dining, and the Gilt Edge Club. That is an open-air lounge with some shade with a complimentary beer and wine selection and a build-your-own hot dogs and nacho selection. So the Gilt Edge feels more like that middle ground. You don't want the luxury experience, but you kind of want more of a fan-friendly thing, but you still want to pay for the fun, like indoor-outdoor thing and like sit in relative comfort. The Gilt Edge makes sense. The Legacy feels more like the plush, most luxury experience of them all. And the Solon Club is probably around the same level, but that's been at the park for a while. They've just made enhancements to it. So that's what you have there.
The Solon Club, like that's been there. So have any of these new seating areas or kind of elevated experience, like have any of those been added more recently because they knew the team was moving? Or
yes.
Okay. Interesting.
So they've been added to the park with the A's coming into town. Those were added over the past couple months.
Cool.
The rest of the 200 level, quote unquote, it's not really the 200 level, but the rest of that upper area is suites. So you'll just have regular private suites. I think there's maybe 30 of them that go around the rest of the foul area all the way to the left side. So Solon Club is in the right field area, shallow right. I think the other clubs are probably in that area too. And then the suites go around all the way to the left side. So that's how it looks. That's how the bowl looks essentially at Sutter Health Park. You, it's going to be more family friendly on the lawn. The White Sox game in April, those tickets are $40. That is a relatively expensive lawn seat, but for Major League
Yeah.
Baseball, probably not too bad. I would imagine for that Rays game in August, where it's a Tuesday night, the lawn seats are probably more like $25 to $30, which is much more affordable and much easier to digest. So keep that in mind. If you're a family of 4, that's probably your best bet, is to maybe wait later in the season, go on a weekday if you can in the summer, and get a $25 per person lawn seat. Children under 2 are free as of last year. And
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
most ballparks do let children under 2 in for free no matter what. So that's what the River Cats did last year, was children under 2 are free. So hopefully that's what it is this year here. But that was something to keep in mind as well. So that's how the tickets go at Sutter Health. That's how the bowl goes at Sutter Health. What else would you like to know, Alex?
Yeah, tell me more about the outfield hill. That's so cool. I've always loved that idea, just having an outfield hill, especially at the minor league parks. It's more family friendly. You can let your kids get out and run around a little bit.
Yeah.
Are there any other like kid friendly things out there? Like when you bring your family out, is there a playground or a splash pad out there? Do you know anything about that?
Well, so yeah, most minor league parks, as you said, have that lawn section, and the lawn there, Home Run Hill, is going to be open. It's going to have 3,000 to 4,000 tickets available for every game. The tickets will be between $20 and $40, I would imagine, or maybe $20 and $60 per game, depending on who's in town and what the day is and that kind of thing. The River Cats allowed you to bring in a beach chair or a folding lawn chair, no higher than 9 inches off the ground, for the lawn only. You can't bring in a beach chair if you're sitting in a regular seat. For the lawn only, you can bring in a beach chair that is no higher than 9 inches off the ground. So keep that in mind. Just, your regular beach chair that's lower to the ground, you can bring that. That's always fun. You can set it up, get there as early as you can to set up your spot, and make sure you're, at the top of the hill so you can get the best view of the game. Below the hill are where the bullpens are. So that's another great thing. So the minor league park here in the Houston area in Sugar Land, Texas, where the AAA team for the Astros, the Space Cowboys, play, the bullpens are below the lawn there. And so you can hang out on the lawn and then go down to the bullpens and just watch them, toss the ball back and forth. And if you're lucky and, you are a nice enough person, maybe one of the players who is in the visiting bullpen or what have you will strike up a conversation with you and you can talk to a player. And that's happened to me in the past. It's really cool.
Oh, how cool. Bring your kids. I'm sure that's a better way to get the players to talk to you, is bring your kids for sure, especially you get autographs. They like to sign for the kids.
Okay, well, the autograph thing is interesting because I found that the A's might not be allowing autographs this year at the park because... so they allowed it for the River Cats. But I think they're expecting it to be crazy crowded every game, pretty much a sellout because it's not as many, it's going to sell out to 15,000 essentially. So I think they are saying because of the crush of people, they don't want to have autographs. So keep that in mind. I don't think they're going to allow it this year, but maybe you can get one. I don't know. Find your way around it if you can, but I'm telling you, they're not allowing it from what I've heard.
I understand, but that's still kind of a bummer.
But kids are also very welcome at these kind of parks because you have the lawn, but also, as you said, yes, there is a kids area. So the kids area for Sutter Health, when the River Cats were there regularly, it's behind Home Run Hill and it has a play area with a play structure. It has a wiffle ball field and it has a misting pad or not really a splash pad, but like kind of a splash pad that has misters that, if it's really hot out, and it will be in the summer, your kid can, make sure that they wear a bathing suit or bathing trunks or whatever, and they can run around in the misting pad and get wet and get cool and that kind of thing. So that's a really good option for kids. I haven't heard anything about the A's saying that's gone or whatever. I think that's still there as far as I know. So that should still be there for the team this year. Other things that you want to keep in mind for that outfield area, there's a beer garden that's in left field that at least was there last year, and it looks like it's there this year for the A's. There's a beer garden in left field in the corner there. So if you're going to get some craft brews, I've heard they're going to have some microbrews there. I don't know how much, but they're going to probably have some. I would imagine there's going to be plenty of Bud Fair and Anheuser-Busch Fair too there as well. So there's your beer garden out in left field, probably some seating areas, that kind of thing. As far as the food is concerned, the food that was there in years past, so the vendors are called Bridges Grill, Coop and Kennel Pub, Cadillac Diner, Oso's Mexican Cantina, Pizza and Pints, Golden Spike Chop House, and Sweet Spot. That all tells me it's just basic ballpark fare, right? Yeah. You're going to have hot dogs, burgers, you're going to have barbecue, you're going to have probably some sandwiches. some nachos, maybe some like Mexican cantina, maybe there'll be some tacos, walking tacos, something like that. Coop and Kennel Pub to me sounds like meatier dishes. Maybe there's like an English influence in there somewhere. I don't know. Sweet Spot, obviously, you have your ice cream and maybe your cotton candy and stuff like that. Ice cream in a helmet, all that stuff. So maybe they'll add some things into it. I've heard the ballpark has a lot of garlic fries because it is the Bay Area, and Gilroy's garlic fries are very important, especially at Oracle Park where the Giants play. So I would imagine they will have Gilroy's garlic fries or some kind of garlic fries at Sutter Health this year. So keep in mind that as potentially the thing to get while you're at the park. Some other things to know as far as like what you can bring and not bring into the park. Outside food was not allowed. At least for the from what I've heard from the A's, at least from what I've seen for this year, outside food might not be allowed. So that's one thing. But the River Cats did allow clear bags. So clear plastic bags, some backpacks, 12 by 6 by 12 inches plastic totes, a clutch with a shoulder strap, a clutch with a wrist strap, a clear fanny pack. This was all River Cat stuff. A lot of baseball teams these days are not even allowing that stuff. So we'll see what happens this year with the A's. They might not allow all those bags, but your best bet is to bring a very clear bag. They also sold clear bags at the River Cats team store, which will be the A's team store this year. So if you want a clear bag, go into the team store and get a clear bag. Hopefully they'll have them, and that'll be your way to like put stuff in a bag and bring it into the ballpark. They did allow soft-sided unopened drinks. Water, small milk cartons, juice boxes, pouches, baby stuff, essentially, and kids stuff, but also water bottles, plastic water bottles. If they're not open, they allowed them, but only one per person. That's a lot of ballparks do that, right? A lot of ballparks allow you to bring in a water bottle if it's unopened and it's a plastic thing and it's one per person. So they're allowing that seemingly last year, probably this year as well. That's not something that changes typically. Reusable beverage containers were allowed at Sutter Health last year, if empty. So like if you have your Stanley cup or whatever and it's empty, they allowed that at Sutter Health last year. I don't know if that's going to happen this year.
I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
I can't imagine the A's wanting that. Yeah. No. So I would err on the side of caution with that one and bring your water bottle in the plastic that is unopened and maybe your clear bag. But I would not bring food the first time out. I would not bring a Stanley the first time out. I'm sure the A's will update with more information before the season starts, but that's what we know so far. You can bring binoculars, seat cushions, non-intrusive umbrellas, like big umbrellas, like the big pokey ones, don't bring those, but small ones, yes. Like I said, folding lawn chairs, beach-style chairs for the lawn only. Certified service animals were allowed there last year, and most parks do allow certified service animals, dogs especially, but just don't bring a snake. Don't bring a snake.
Don't be that person. Don't
bring your cat for some reason, but certified service animals were allowed last year. They probably should be allowed this year, I would imagine. No banners, no signs, no beach balls. That's typical for most parks. Brooms less than 3 feet long were allowed there last year. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. Most parks don't allow brooms anymore. So again, err on the side of caution. Cameras were allowed at Sutter Health last year with lenses no more than 6 inches. So don't bring your very professional tripod cameras and stuff like that. That's typical for most parks. So I think you're probably fine if you bring a small disposable or a digital camera, something like that. You're probably fine. Mm-hmm. No smoking, no vaping, obviously. That's all ballparks ever. No smoking, no vaping. Cashless ballpark. It is a completely cashless ballpark, so don't bring cash. Bring your debit card, your charge card. If you have Apple Pay, I think they allow it there. So don't quote me on that, but most places now. I
wonder if they're going to have any of those reverse ATMs, because I know they don't have that there.
This year they have stopped with the reverse ATMs, and I will tell you, most parks in baseball are going to begin to get rid of those reverse ATMs over the next couple of years because they want to get completely cashless. They want to make sure people just know you can't do it anymore. So
that's
not
the first
bring
I've
cash.
heard of that. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Do not bring cash for a reverse ATM. It's not going to happen for you. A couple other things to know about the ballpark and where to go. There's a complimentary bike valet at Sutter Health, which is terrific. Terrific. A lot of parks are not very good with bikes. I mean, there's still a lot of parks in baseball that just do not have the room to store bikes, the bike racks, that kind of thing. But there's a complimentary bike valet on Ballpark Drive near the ticket office at Sutter Health. So if you are in Sacramento and you want to ride a bike to the game, even if you're downtown or something like that, you could do that very easily. ride a bike to the game, get to the valet, and it's complimentary. You don't have to pay anything. That's
Wow.
terrific.
I was going to ask again,
Yeah,
does
you don't
that
have to
have
pay.
dynamic pricing as well? I mean, that's
Yeah.
so cool. Oh, I want to do that now. I'm going to rent a
that
bike.
is-
Okay.
That's per last year with the River Cats.
Okay.
So I think that's still the same this year. We'll see.
I hope so. That's great.
Accessibility stuff. If you're dropping off somebody who needs help and accessibility, drop off is at 5th Street. There's parking in the green lot for people who have, parking for people with disabilities. That's in the green lot. First come, first served. There is wheelchair seating and companion seating offered at the park in most places, but it's not necessarily like, here's all the places. I'm just going to tell you it's offered. The best bet is to go to guest services, which is at section 112. That's where guest services is. You can get booster seats. Lost and Found is there. Taxi assistance is there, and just general assistance is there as well.
Some sunscreen if you're there too, because sometimes they carry sunscreen. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing that guest services offers at ballparks.
Yeah, there's a first aid section there as well. So they'll have the sunscreen. They'll have first aid at 112 guest services. And there's a baby changing facility, a couple of them, family restrooms at 106 and 117 and suite level 22. Suite 22 outside of there is where the family restrooms are. And that's where your baby changing facilities are. I don't know if I would imagine they're going to institute some sort of a room for mothers who are nursing. Every ballpark now has a nursing room. So hopefully they will have that. Maybe it's the baby changing facility. I'm not sure, but that will probably be updated before the season starts. Go to guest services at the end of the day to see about that. And quiet rooms and rooms for children who might need some assistance and maybe have a disability and need some quiet time. A lot of ballparks do that now.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Sutter Health will have something like that for children with those needs. So go to guest services and ask about that. A lot of ballparks carry fidget toys and different just tactical things that children can play with while the game's happening so that their mind can sort of stay on that and not get overwhelmed by the game noise and the chaos. So go to guest services. If you ever have any questions about accessibility and your kids' needs, go to guest services with those needs. Final thing, gates open typically between 1 and 2 hours before first pitch at Sutter Health. I don't know what this is going to be for the A's. That was last year's info, but from what I'm gathering, most parks are like this. It's like an hour and a half before the game starts is when gates open for most parks. So I would imagine anytime between an hour and a half before is when gates will open at Sutter Health for most A's games. So just keep that in mind if you want to go walk around the park. I will tell you, it's a minor league park. There's not going to be as much to see, so you're probably fine waiting until an hour before first pitch or even 45 minutes before first pitch to kind of get in and get acclimated. But hopefully it'll be a fun place to visit. I imagine the A's, as they stay there for a couple of years, will add some more things to the park to enhance the experience. They will probably trick some things out, just make it a little bit more easy in time, hopefully. But yeah, it'll be fun to get out there, and hopefully you can get out there and have a good time this year at Sutter Health Park. And hopefully this guide is a good start for your adventure to Sutter Health. But next week, we will go to Sacramento. Exciting.
I've never been, so I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah, we'll get on our plane. We'll drop off. We'll do a weekend real quick. No, we're just gonna give you the whole Sacramento deal. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
I thought you were going to go somewhere really corny. It's we're going to get onto the airplane in our mind and land at the airport. And I thought you were going somewhere with that. I was like, what are we about to do? I'm scared.
No, don't
Close
worry.
your eyes.
Yeah, it's like one of those like a air, like what was it? Qantas commercial, that airline, like Air Qantas, and close your eyes and enjoy the, I don't know, whatever. I don't know.
No.
One of those airlines.
It's like, I'm okay. Thanks.
But that'll be next week. We'll go to Sutter Health Park. Next week we'll go to Sacramento and we'll check out all of Sacramento and the whole city, and we'll give you all the tips for that place. But that was Sutter Health, and we'll update with more info as we get closer to the season, I'm sure, and your experiences and all that. But we'll come back in a second here on Take Me Out, and we will finish up the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, so we mentioned this earlier, but let's go over it again. You can find us on Facebook, Take Me Out Pod. You can find us on Instagram. Give us a follow there at Take Me Out Pod. And if you're looking at us, our beautiful faces here on YouTube, hello. Find us here on YouTube, Take Me Out Pod. Tell your friends. We have a Patreon that's coming. I know we keep promising that, but it really is coming. I promise. And if you're listening to us in your car, at home while you're doing errands, that made so much sense. If you're at home cleaning, doing whatever you need to do, give us a good 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, please tell your friends. Please tell people that like baseball, and maybe they go to ballparks and they talk about, oh, I want to go to this park this year. I want to do this road trip to this park or whatever. hey, there's a podcast that does all that stuff and they can help you out with tips and guides and all that stuff. And they're really cool and funny and awesome. And they're called Take Me Out. So yeah, please let your friends and family members and people that you know about our podcast. It'd be great for us to get more followers and more love and more fans. And we would love to grow this very, very deeply so that we can continue to make memories and dreams happen here on Take Me Out.
Making dreams come true. Take me out.
Always making dreams come true. Welcome back to Take Me Out. Final segment here. I don't know if you've heard, Alex, but there's some slight changes happening at Oracle Park in San Francisco. The Giants are upgrading the enormous Coca-Cola bottle in left field. So for those of you who may not know, I'm sure you've seen Oracle Park before, one of the best ballparks in baseball. There is an enormous Coca-Cola bottle that is out in left field that is on an angle, and it adorns the left field backdrop, and it is getting shined up. So NBC Bay Area reports that the bottle, which has been around for 25 years, as long as the ballpark, is getting a paint job and new features, quote unquote. That's from the Giants. That's all they're saying. They're not saying anything else about the bottle. For some reason, it's a big secret. I don't know why. But this is a bottle that is, it's a wire bottle essentially, and it's both an advertisement for Coca-Cola and it's art because this is really cool bottle that is on an angle. That's it's
cool. I mean, it's just a classic Coca-Cola bottle. I love it.
But it's also a slide. People can slide down the Coke bottle at Oracle Park. I don't know if you knew this, but when you're at Oracle Park, you can actually get onto the Coke slide. Now, I don't think it's open every day, but when it is available, I don't think I think windy days they don't allow it or something like that. But a lot of days you can slide down the Coke bottle. So, Alex, I'm turning to you with this one. I wanted us to each come up with what would be like an art piece, functional piece, advertisement piece, like the Coke bottle that would fit for another ballpark, for another team, right? So the Giants have the Coke bottle. So I'll just give you the easy one. Your Astros. Dyken Park, new name, new era. What would be like the functional piece that is also fun and maybe artistic that you could fit into Dyken that would fit for the Astros?
Well, other than the train, which I'm assuming since it used to be Minute Maid Park and used to have giant oranges, I'm assuming the train's going to have cans of Freon this year. I don't know. I think we should do something cold because Dyken, air conditioning. Let's do a slide. I know it's very not original, but I think we should do like a shot block slide. Like, you go to the bar, it's a giant ice luge kind of thing, and they pour the liquor. But we do it this way, where it's an actual giant slide, and you have Orbit go down it. And you call it the shot block slide because we get a home run, you call it a shot, and then you take it down the slide.
I love this idea. I love this idea. And like, do you make it more Houston? And I know like luges are not like this. But do you make
don't
it
have
more
a lot
Houston?
of luges in Houston.
Do you make it more Houston by having the luge emanate from like a frozen margarita machine, and the luge itself is like different margarita colors? It's the pink, it's green, it's orange.
Yeah, you would have to do the tequila sunrise colors. You like
or tequila
flag back
here.
You're going to do the tequila sunrise. So you're going to do. Yeah, so I don't know even know if you would do like a regular classic lime margarita because there's no green in Astros, but I think you would do a blood orange margarita. You could do a good, just plain good Cointreau, like triple sec, really orangey margarita. Gosh, I'm trying to think what other colors would be there. Maybe a lemon margarita? That wouldn't be a margarita. I don't know. Pineapple. There you go. Yeah, you got to do the tequila, but it's called a tequila sunrise for a reason. So that's
exactly.
Perfect.
There you go. Yeah. No, I mean, I like. And you just use LED lights to like light that. You don't have to you have to color the illusion. You just LED light it up. So like
and you would have I'm gonna like, since to save money, you wouldn't actually be made. It wouldn't be made of ice, but like just like really shiny material. But then you would also have maybe some dry ice, making some steam around it. Make it really cold around it. Yeah,
imagine Altuve hits a home run, the fireworks, the train's moving, and then Orbit goes down this crazy ass ice luge slide.
Drinking a margarita.
The drinking a margarita. There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, what do you got for me?
Now, so I'm going to come up with, let's do one of my other favorite parks. How about I'm going to assign you Camden Yards in Baltimore.
Okay. Baltimore, Camden Yards. Let's see. Let's see. We got this. We got this. Okay. So, for the kids area, okay, for the kids area at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, you need to have a really cool play area that has a beach. Now, you're thinking, Baltimore beach, it doesn't really work, right? There's no beaches in Baltimore. However, this beach in center field, in the outfield there, is sponsored by Old Bay. What you put on your crabs and your fries and your seafood, the Maryland favorite Old Bay, and the sand at this beach is Old Bay seasoning. That's all. It's the Old Bay beach, and kids just can jump. And imagine you come home from the Orioles game, and your child has played in the sand all day and just reeks of Old Bay seasoning.
That smell's never going to go away.
Oh, of course not. No, of course not.
Oh my God. That and Old Bay is like, that's part of the plan.
That's part of the plan.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
And now I really want some crawfish tonight. So there you go.
Man, it is crawfish season. I've seen a bunch of flags around Houston, and I'm just like, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, it is time. It is time. Well, it is time for us to go. And we really thank you for being a part of Take Me Out this week. Had a lot of fun talking about Sutter Health Park in Sacramento. Also, what is going on in baseball. And yes, our favorite ice luges and Old Bay seasoning beaches.
Old Bay Beach. I love it. It's perfect.
Next week, we will be talking about Sacramento itself and what to do in Sacramento, where to eat, drink, play, stay, all the great things. If you're going to see the A's this year or in the next couple of years, what to do in Sacramento. This is going to be your guide. Come next week on Take Me Out for all of that fun. Until then, thank you so much for listening to Take Me Out. I am Tim.
And I'm Alex. And hey, smile. It's baseball season.
Catch you next week.